Well, hi there, and welcome to one of my favorite places in the world. This is Red Ledges, and I've brought you here today because this is one of my favorite places in the world. I take my family here about once a week during the spring and summer. We love to explore this place because it's beautiful, it's full of amazing life, and today I'm going to do something I've been wanting to do for years. Come with me. Come on, Theo. So right now, I'm at the bottom of the mountain. We're going up there. That's the place that I really want to show you. But because this is one of my favorite places in the world, when Brian Cusco and Dave Kaufman came here to Utah, I had to bring them to this incredible place because it is just so majestic and wonderful, and just it is such a special place in the world, and it's special to me. And Brian and I, we climbed all the way to the top up there, but Dave didn't quite make it. He made it to a point that we have now named Kaufman Point, and I don't know how long it takes to get to Kaufman Point exactly, but this is the point at which Dave could climb no more. Oh, did you hear that? Man, that's loud. There it is. Holy cow, that's a squirrel. Listen how loud this guy is. It's just a little squirrel up in there. I wouldn't have dreamed a squirrel would be that loud. I thought it was a bird. All right. Well, sorry, I got distracted by a squirrel. It's actually kind of the whole point, though, of Closer to Nature is to take the time to observe and just discover new things. That was quite a noise. All right. So as I was saying, Kaufman Point is just a little bit up there, and I don't know how long it takes to get to Kaufman Point. This is as far as Dave made it, so let's see how long it takes to get from ground level to Kaufman Point. Are you ready? Okay, stopwatch is ready. On your mark, get set, go. Come on, Theo. Okay. Make a little bit of time. Let's see how far Dave made it. A little bit of rock climbing. Let's see. Good boy. All right, we're almost there. And made it. Kaufman Point. 57 seconds. And I will tell you the truth. I climbed this once before, just a minute ago, and I forgot to hit record. So, in about 3 minutes, you can climb to Kaufman Point twice. But this is where Kaufman stayed. It's as far as he could go. Hey buddy, come here. Theo and I, we've made it pretty much to the top. Was a bit of a workout. It's a hot day, which is going to be good for the creatures that might be up here. I've got just a tiny little bit, but I found this great patch of shade. I needed to cool down. I thought Theo could use a cool down, and maybe while we're here, I can talk to you a little bit about what I want to do. I've been dreaming about this for a long time. I really enjoy what we are doing generally on Clint Reptiles, and we intend to continue that on for the foreseeable future in talking about pet reptiles, helping you pick the right one for you. But I am, at my heart, a naturalist. And I love just getting out and exploring and discovering things I've never discovered before. Sometimes it feels like you need to go to somewhere exotic, and I hope to go to many places that are exotic. But sometimes it's just a matter of taking a closer look, just taking the time to observe something and ask questions. And as a biologist, that's what I've been trained to do, is observe and ask the right questions and seek out the answers. And I want to take the time to take a closer look. And now, largely thanks to the support of our supporters on Patreon, we have the equipment necessary for me to bring you along. and we can discover things together. So I really appreciate you being here with me. This is a dream come true for me, and I'm hoping we can do this in a lot of other places. But I want to take a closer look with you today. I want to find just a small area of land, and I want to spend all day there and just observe the plants and the animals and what is happening, what are they doing, and take a closer look at nature maybe than any of us ever have before. We're not herping. We're here to observe and to learn. So let's get up there. Looks like at some point I had a little run-in with a gymnosperm, and I got some tree sperm on my pants. Look at the amazing blue wings on this grasshopper. You ready? This is it. This is the place. This is a really amazing little location. There's a little gully here where waters come through whenever there's a rain. All kinds of amazing wood and plant life. It's been really dry this year. It has been one of the worst drought years we've had in a very long time, on the back of another drought year last year. So it's been extremely dry, but we just recently got some heavy rains, which are bringing back some of the life and some of the beauty to this area. There's even a little pool down there that Theo's discovered. Hey Theo, come here, buddy. Come here. I am so excited to stay in this place today and just discover all that is yet to be seen. Let's take a closer look. Look at this cool wasp. Let's come down here to get some water. Let's get a little closer. It does not take long at all to spot some really amazing things. I saw my first little lizard. He ran into this group of plants, and as I was getting ready to film him, this awesome robber fly turned up here on the rock. Just in time. Oh, right there he is. You see him? Just a cute little guy. I've seen these up here before. A lot of them about this size, and I'm not sure if they are juvenile sagebrush lizards or if they're a different species, because there are a lot of them right in this size class. It's interesting. Theo just came up to me, and the little lizard, he pays attention to Theo, but he's not particularly concerned by Theo, and probably a lot of the reason for that is their great difference in size from one another. Theo is such a large animal that the amount of energy he would need to expel trying to catch a lizard like this would be more than what he would probably get out of a lizard like this. Something called optimal foraging theory. Getting a pretty good look at those patterns. If I had to wager at this point, I would say these are juvenile sagebrush lizards. Oh, there you see. Hi, buddy. It's amazing how when you just sit and observe, you're not coming after animals, how quickly they'll cozy up to you. Hi, friend. Anything for a little shade out here. You know, he's got a big full belly. Might try moving my tripod, see what he thinks of that. Just so we can see him a little better. Hey, buddy. There you go. Get in there. In the shadow of that tiny little plant. Enjoying the shade, friend? Being a good boy? You being a good boy? All right, Theo, you ready for a water break? A little water break. So this guy is a little flying grasshopper, and he's doing these flights But he doesn't really go anywhere. There's another one. They're moving very inefficiently. It's mostly, I think, about making the noise and showing off their colorful wings. And that would make some sense as to why these grasshoppers have such colorful wings. It could be to startle predators. There he is. Right there, you see him. It could be to startle predators, but it could also be to attract mates. But he's not going far, he's just making a lot of noise. And he is showing off those pretty wings. And it'll be interesting to see if any females come up to him. I'm going to keep an eye on him for a while. Lunchtime. Theo and I just had some lunch, and that really gave me a good opportunity to kind of just settle in to the whole point of this, which is to slow down, look around, and I just started to notice how much there is going on just right around me, even when I couldn't see any animals. Like, for example, right here, these cactus, they're really cool. So most plants do what's called C3 photosynthesis. And C3 photosynthesis works pretty well unless it gets really hot or there's not much water available. And so there are other types of plants out there that have ways of dealing with the extreme heat or the lack of water by doing different forms of photosynthesis. And so those that are really good at just dealing with the heat do what's called C4 photosynthesis instead of C3 photosynthesis that most plants do. But then cactus, and also bromeliads and a lot of your epiphytes, so plants that you find like way up in trees and in areas where there might not be constant availability of water, even in places like the rainforest, they practice what's called CAM photosynthesis, which is pretty similar to C4 photosynthesis, except what they do is they only open up their pores, their stomata, at night when it's not so hot and it doesn't suck all the moisture out of them. And then they keep them closed all day long, which means they can only do a limited amount of photosynthesis during the day. They tend to be slower growing than plants that do C3 or C4 photosynthesis. But it means that they don't dry out, and so they can actually continue to live in places that would be fairly inhospitable for photosynthetic organisms like plants generally. What do you think of that, Theo? Is that pretty cool? So there's some more of these cactus. They're all over the place. And then we've got obviously a lot of grasses. We've got some woody plants like this oak that's right here. And then if you look really close, down here in the shadows, and you're only going to find these in the shadows in such a dry environment, you've got mosses. Now these mosses, there's a lot of them actually right over here. Let me take you over here to see this. Right under this big juniper tree. And mosses are fascinating. So they are very much tied to the water for a couple of reasons. One of them being that they don't have a vascular system, so they can't move water up from roots or sugar down to roots, so they can't have roots. And so anywhere they're going to live, the whole plant pretty much needs access to water, which is why they're flat on the ground and they don't grow up tall. The other thing is they need to be entirely in the sun, and on top of that, they reproduce by throwing their sperm and their eggs into the water. So they only can live in places that get pretty wet on a fairly regular basis, and that get really wet at some times a year so they can reproduce. Well, that means here in the desert, this is a pretty inhospitable place for mosses. But these mosses are managing to get by just barely, as long as they live in a place that's almost continuously shady and doesn't dry out too quickly so that they can stay alive. And that's just the beginning, because if you look on almost all of these rocks up here, you'll see lichens. Lichens generally involve a photosynthetic organism. I'll show you another one. Okay, look at how cool this rock is. This is amazing. So it is covered in lichens. And lichens are a symbiotic relationship generally between a photosynthetic organism, like an algae or a plant, and a fungus. Look at all the different colors and types. I imagine they're all different species, but it'd be interesting to find out if there's simply different ways that the same species can manifest itself, perhaps based on which photosynthetic organism or which fungus is involved, if they're species specific or not. And then look at all the moss. Look at all the moss. Everywhere under our juniper tree. Look at these red flowers. And the cool dog that trampled them. Boy, that guy made the best of a bad situation, didn't he? It's just this tiny little crack in the rock where his seed happened to land. And he just went for it. And now look. Throwing up flowers, gonna do its own reproducing, make its own seeds maybe. Here we are now outside of the shade. You can see we've still got quite a few different plants, the cactus. We got a lot of grasses, but one thing you notice are completely absent are the mosses. No mosses out here. You only find those in the areas that are almost constantly shaded. Some lichens though, but not nearly as many. So here we have a little exception to our shade rule. We've got mosses everywhere, but where we are right now is in the gully. And so this is where the water drains, and so this area gets really saturated. And we had some rains not very long ago. You can see a cow's been through here. But this area stays very wet. And so even though this is exposed to heavy amounts of sun, the fact that it is so often wet is allowing the mosses to survive here. So it's dry enough that I don't get mosses up on the hillsides unless it's directly under a tree. But here in the drainage itself, we get mosses. And look at this little hoverfly. Man, how picturesque is this? I would love to simulate something like that in the reptile room. That is so beautiful. But there's something really cool here. So that hillside is completely devoid of mosses, except right here on the shady side of that rock. Will get us a little closer so we can get a better look at this. We got some here where it's often shaded. So in this area where it misses out on a lot of the sunniest part of the day and it can stay just moist enough on the side of that rock, we've got huge moss colonies. Same thing for this rock up here. All right, I'm right here. I'm in the shade. This particular flower I find growing in some of the most inhospitable areas, right out of cracks in rocks, right out of a patch of moss. That's a survivor right there. Now this little red flowering plant, I have not been seeing these everywhere. These yellow guys right here, I've been seeing them all around. They're doing really well up here. These little red guys, this is the first time seeing of them. See if I can spot them in other areas. But you notice how an interesting shape their flowers have. They're very long and skinny. So the point of flowers is to get insects and other animals to collect some of your pollen and transport it to other flowers, and also to receive pollen from other flowers on the eggs of your plant, because plants have trouble getting around to meet people. And so these flowers probably are forcing pollinators to get in pretty deep to get to that nectar. Now, this can lead to its own solutions in sort of an arms race where pollinators may evolve to have a very long nectar collecting apparatus like a proboscis in order to extract that nectar from deep inside that flower. And so oftentimes you'll see kind of a runaway situation where you might end up with flowers that are very, very deep in the nectar, very deep inside, and then local pollinators with extremely long proboscises and other mechanisms for extracting that nectar. So this is really interesting. It's only as I'm getting closer to these guys that I'm noticing that, I believe it's called the pistil, but it is the female portion of the flower, protrudes way outside of the flower itself. You see that? And so that is going to allow them to get fertilized very easily by any insect, even if it has a long proboscis that has got some of the pollen from another one of these flowers on it, because it's coming out to meet them way outside of the flower, actually. How cool is that? Just down here in the gully did I notice these, and I'm pretty sure they are a fungus. This one is about the size of a ping pong ball, but it's not the only one. This one is a little bit larger still. And conveniently, I accidentally stepped on this little guy. So let's see what he's got going on. Sorry, pal. Didn't mean to squish you. Okay, so it is a little bit rooted into the ground. It's got kind of a leathery coating, almost like an egg, like a reptile egg. And it is wet. It's wet, it's got different sorts of layers inside. It is very unusual indeed. Sorry I stepped on you. Try to figure out what you are. Come on, Theo. Yeah, show us the way. Whoa. Look at all the moss down here. We've actually got some standing water. So this is like the one place around with standing water. And as a result, I would imagine virtually all of the insect life in the area is going to be coming through here from time to time. There's a butterfly, but it got ran off by this tiny wolf. We've caught up again with our grasshopper friend from before. He has just completed a flight and he's resting. They seem to need maybe 2 or 3 minutes to recover after each of their little flights. I used to catch these a lot as a kid. I'd always notice their bright wings and the loud clicking sounds they make when they fly. Do you have any thoughts, Theo? What are your thoughts on this grasshopper? You loving it? Almost 12 minutes in since he landed. I did not dream they recovered for this long. So after about 12 minutes, he decided to move. There he is on top of that rock. That was a decent little flight he just did. And if you think about it, insects don't have any lungs. So he's having to replace all of the ATP in his muscles using only oxygen delivered by his tracheal system. 14 minutes in, we've been watching this guy for a while. There he goes. This is the long mating flight. And these flights seem a little more purposeful. Interesting. Theo and I, after like 25 minutes of watching grasshoppers out in the sun, getting a little rest, aren't we, buddy? Taking a break from time to time. Yeah. You're a good boy. Should we get you a little more drink? Should we get you a little more drink? Remember the way, Mr. T? I'm just hiking back now. I'm gonna go get a little more water. This is the desert after all. This spot right here, this is one of my favorite places. Just this cool little arch up through here. Here's another one. I would love to recreate this amazing arch in an enclosure. I get excited every time we take pictures of our kids in there often. One of my favorite spots. You know, one of my favorite places. The heavy rains really washed out the trail. It's gone. It's taking a little time to remember how to navigate through here because everything looks different. We've almost arrived. Not at the bottom, not quite, but at Kaufman Point. Took us 4 minutes. That was including a wrong turn. And I wasn't hurrying, so Dave was a 4-minute descent from the top. We'll see how long it takes us to climb on the way back up. Oh, Dave. Life wouldn't be any fun without you. I will tell you, right under that rock is the only place I've ever seen a western skink. My first and only western skink I've ever seen. It's right under that rock where that sagebrush lizard is. And I've seen multiple sagebrush lizards just since I've been here to Kaufman Point. I think up on top it's still a little hot for them. Hopefully when we get back up there, after we replenish our water, they'll be out and about. My guess is it would be sometime earlier this year that it dropped that tail. Better to lose your tail and live than to keep it and die. That is a Kaufman Point sagebrush lizard. One of the rarest reptiles in the world. Only found here. Goodbye, little one. Okay, so this is not cheating because I'm actually back at the car getting water. But what I found was one of these tiny little lizards, right? And I told you that the little ones I find all seem to be about this exact same size. So I wanted to get a better look at this lizard to see if it really is a little sagebrush lizard. There are so many at this exact size. And the thing is, I'm mostly up here during the spring and summer. So my hypothesis is that this is a hatchling from this year of the sagebrush lizards from this area. But I wanted to get a really good look at that pattern so we can compare it to the other sagebrush lizards that we see. This guy's being very patient with me though. What a good little dude. What do you think? Is it a sagebrush lizard or is it something else? Oh, you know what? See that little umbilical scar? That virtually confirms it for me. This is a baby lizard, and given everything else I know about this area, those patterns, this is a baby sagebrush lizard. That is some good detective work right there. Found some clear evidence. What a little cutie. Let's let him go. These are harvester ants. Their sting's a little rough. Whenever you find harvester ants, so you've always got to look, see if there's a horned lizard nearby. I don't see one today though. Okay, I just found another one of these grasshoppers. And it has yellow wings like the other one, but when it flies it's silent. And I predict that's a female. Need a better look at her to be sure though. You can tell by the shape of their abdomen. Male grasshoppers have a rounded end to their abdomen. Females a pointed end. It kind of opens like jaws. But I can't see well enough to confirm my suspicion that this is a female. I'd have to catch her. Look at all the butterflies, hoverflies, tiny wasps. There's a whole world of activity going on these flowers. These are those flowers that are such survivors. They grow anywhere up here. All right, so I'm back at the now famous Kaufman Point. Made this climb a few times today. Went down to the car to get some more water and to take a little break for Theo. And we're heading back up. I'm curious, exactly how long does it take from here? Obviously you can run to Kaufman Point in under a minute. I suspect that normally it would be a 2 to 3 minute hike to Kaufman Point. That's where Dave Kaufman, of course, called it a day and waited for Brian and I to climb up there, have our fun on the top, climb back down. He was right here, just like we left him. But Now I'm going to see how long it takes climbing normally, not running or anything, just kind of a normal slow walk to the top, how long it will take me to get from Kaufman Point to the top of the mountain. See how much effort and time Dave saved himself. So I'm going to begin now. Put him off. See you at the top. Whew. Oh yeah. Theo went this route. Wrong turn. Come on, Theo. That's why you don't follow the dog. And we are back. I'm a little tired, so I won't argue that Dave didn't save himself some significant energy. But total time hiking normally, getting lost once because you followed a dog, 3 minutes 52 seconds. So Dave spent an hour by himself, didn't get to see the top here, saved himself probably 4 minutes coming up and maybe 3 going back. 7 minutes, a little energy. Was he right or was he wrong? Would you look at this? The pools that were here just a few hours ago have now all but dried up. It's still very moist here. You can see there's still insects coming in to take advantage of the moisture that's available. But that's all that's left right there. Another one of these guys growing out of a crack in a rock, of course. These are survivors, man. There are a pair of butterflies here, and they're chasing each other around. I don't know if it's courtship or a territorial display, but it kind of looks like courtship to me. And here is only the second group of these cool red flowers that I've seen today. I really like these. I think they're very neat. There's a whole bunch of them though right here. Some of them aren't in bloom just yet. All right, I'm looking for the cool little red flowers. So far, the 2 places I've found them have both been down in the gully. So I kind of suspect that they need more water than a lot of these others, especially the yellow flowers, which can grow out of anything. So maybe up here is too high to be looking for them. I'm gonna head back down to the gully, take a look. There's the yellow flowers and the white fungus, white mystery fungus. I think the first red ones are around here somewhere. There they are. Let's get a closer look. Do you see that crane fly? That isn't even what that is it? That looks like a true bug of some I've never seen. Wow, that was so cool. Same flower, same insects as before, and they're mating. I've never seen this insect in my life, and I've only found them on this flower. I wonder what their relationship is to it. Do they drink the nectar of it? What kind of insect is this? They look like a true bug to me, a hemipteran. Anybody know? Sorry I'm so shaky up this close. Anything is a lot, but I've never seen these in my life. Are they only found on these flowers? Look at those antennae with the joint in them. Looking more closely at more of these plants. Look what I'm finding. More of them. Not seeing them on any other plants but this one. I think it's either a fly or a true bug. I just spotted one on one of the yellow flowers. I'm right here by one of the yellow flowers, and I thought I had spotted one on the yellow flower plant, but with closer examination, and I found a pair of them mating on it also. This is actually one of the red flower plants. It just happens to be growing right next to a yellow flower. They do seem to be species specific. As far as I can tell, they are only on this plant. And they are so cool. And this is the second pair of them I found mating. Hang on, fella. That might give us a good enough look at the mouth parts to tell if this is a dipteran or a hemipteran. Does it have a straw laying across its chest? If it does, it's likely a hemipteran of some sort. A true bug. And one I've never seen before, and I never would have noticed if I didn't look a little closer. All right, well, I gotta tell you, I am pretty excited about this new bug that we've discovered. And they've all been in this one patch of the little red flowers. So what I'm gonna look for now is another patch of those little red flowers. I gotta see if these are something exclusive to that flower. They seem to be, but if they're all in this one area, maybe I just happened to land on a big flock of them. So we've only found those red flowers in 2 places. I'll look at the other ones and I'll see if I can find any more. These are so cool. All right, so I'm back at my original red flowers. Looking at the first one. Not seeing any. Here's another one. I don't see any. Okay, but I'm also not seeing them on any other flowers. Not seeing them on the yellow flowers. I'm checking all of those as I go by. Well, not all of them, they're everywhere, but checking those periodically. I've never found one on anything but these red flowers. But I've only found the 2 patches of red flowers. So I'm gonna keep walking up the gully and see what I can find. So the farther I've walked up the gully, the drier it has become. I'm not seeing even the yellow flowers farther up the gully. And where we found the big patch before was right before what is probably normally a waterfall. So there's a pretty good drop off there, but I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go down the drop off and see if I can find more areas where the water's been pooling, where these red flowers, which I think need considerably more water than most of the plants we're seeing regularly up here. See if we can find some more of those red flowers, and if so, can we find more of that crazy insect? Also, what do you think it is? I still haven't figured it out. Okay, Theo and I just came down over the falls, and we have been rewarded richly because right down there, more of the red flowers. It's getting close. See what we can find. Well, this definitely supports our hypothesis that these red flowers need more water because we're only finding them here in the gully. Either that or maybe their seeds are transported by the water. Just another possibility. But what I'm not seeing are any of our cool insects. So I'm gonna keep moseying downstream, see if we can find anything else. Just checking out some of the yellow flowers, making sure I don't see any cool insects on these either. There's all kinds of cool plants around here. And though this one may have its own unique insect life on it, none of those cool fly hemipteran guys. Got a little bit distracted by this cool plant. Is that a desert plant or what? All right, well, I followed the gully until we ran into a giant boulder. There's farther to go, but it's getting drier down here. And I'm not seeing any more of the red flowers. So this is honestly outside of my original zone that I set for myself, but this is a question that I just had to pursue. As far as I can tell, those insects are exclusively found on those cool red flowers. I'd like to find more of the red flowers. I found, I guess, 3 patches of them. And I only found them on the one big patch, but I found a lot of them. They were mating on there. They were on probably half of the plants. I thought I found one on a yellow flower. Turned out it was actually one of the red flowers that hadn't bloomed yet, growing right next to one of the yellow flowers. I'm tempted to go the other way, even farther than I went before. Maybe I can find a wet area up higher. I don't know. Never been down here before, so it's kind of fun getting to see new places. But this is a cool mystery. I think we've got a pretty good idea what's going on, but I'd love a little more evidence. I also want to hear your thoughts. But just in case I don't find anything, thank you so much for joining me here today. It has been so much fun discovering. I feel like I'm getting to live a dream. I'm thankful that you've been with me for it. I guess we're not done yet because I just found this area with a little pool. It's one of the most moist areas. And again, supporting our hypothesis that the red plants need extra moisture. Here's a whole patch of them, a big patch. I'm gonna need to dive in a little closer, but this is gonna be a great place to test our hypothesis of the crazy insect. Definitely supports our hypothesis that these need a lot of moisture. There's more of them over here. We got a lot of close. This is the biggest patch we've found yet. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna get close. None on this one. She was beautiful though. Nope. 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 Wasn't finding them anywhere. But then another one popped up on the biggest plant in this patch. Our hypothesis is very much supported. This insect, whatever it may be, seems to specialize on these plants, and these plants are awesome, and they only seem to be found in areas that are very wet for the desert. In this gully. Nowhere else. And if you look, I think he might be feeding with his proboscis down in, so he's going through the side of the flower, possibly defeating the point of its long tube. Look at that. It's feeding on the nectar through the side of the flower. What a cheater. I wonder if they pollinate these flowers at all. Amazing. Things you learn when you look a little closer. Oh, guys, this is how we end. Thank you for joining me on this incredible adventure. As always, like and subscribe. We hope to see you real soon. All right, here's a good look at a sagebrush lizard. Do you think those babies have that same pattern? Looks pretty similar to me. I think those are the young of the year. And this is a beautiful adult. They get some really bright blue stripes down their sides around the breeding season. At least on the males. Wow. Hi, little one. Thanks for letting us see ya. By the way, I'd like to say thank you to our patrons at Patreon. These are the kind of shots of lizards I've never been able to bring to you before because you pretty much have to catch them. Because of you guys, though, we have new equipment that allows us to take video like this, and it allows us to get closer to nature. And I so appreciate you guys. As you all know, we have a lot of awesome features to say thank you to our patrons for all that they do for us. So if you'd like to support us making awesome content like this in the future, or would just like access to those features, please go check them out. Okay, so I would be really impressed with myself because I caught, without any tools, one of the sagebrush lizards that I can use to compare patterns with the baby we caught. I'd be really impressed with myself, but she only has 3 legs. Seems healed up very nicely though. It's not a recent injury, so well done, little girl. She looks healthy. Her body condition is excellent. I'm going to try not to cost her a tail today on top of what she's already been through, but there's that pattern. You can see that pretty clearly. Compare that to our baby. She's got a slight umbilical scar, but obviously quite healed up compared to our baby, which looks fairly recent at that. So I think we've supported this hypothesis very well, that those are the young of the year baby sagebrush lizards. I'm going to let this little 3-legged Supergirl go on her way. I love them. This used to be the only way I could show them to you. Thanks, Patreon. Here we are just above Kaufman Point. So this may be a Kaufman Point sagebrush lizard. One of the rarest lizards in the world. It's the possibility that this very sagebrush lizard kept Dave Kaufman company while he waited for hours for Brian and I to get back. You miss out on a lot if you stay at Kaufman Point, but not sagebrush lizards. This place is crawling with them. They spell their names L-I-Z, A with a line over it, R-D. There's our friend from earlier, the regrown tail. She's in a slightly different location now. Still here at Kaufman Point, waiting for Dave, hoping for the best. You've been a great companion today. Let's get out of here.